Hello again. The government is launching its new £2 billion Kickstart scheme, which aims to create thousands of jobs for unemployed young people. Joining us to discuss it is the Work and Pensions Secretary, Therese Coffey. Hello to you.
Good morning.
It's nice to see you. Do you like our new studio?
It's lovely.
It's rather fabulous, isn't it? Nice and cool. Talk to me about the number of under-25s on universal credit. It's nearly doubled during lockdown.
Yes, and that's no surprise, Kay. We've been through quite a situation where unprecedented changes have happened in our economic outlook, and that's one of the reasons why we knew early on that we needed to make sure we had something where we could help, in particular, young people try and get their first foot on the ladder into the world of work. And so this is a really comprehensive programme right across the country. There's no cap on the number of places, but we do believe that we want employers to come forward today with the launch. They can go online. We really want to get our first Kickstarters underway in November.
How are you going to pay for it? Rishi Sunak must be pulling his hair out as it is.
Well, I'm conscious that the Chancellor is balancing a number of different activities right across, whether the extra support that we've given to the NHS, also about young people in schools. But it is important that we want to try and get the economy going again. We think this is a good way. It's beneficial for businesses. It's also very beneficial for young people. So that's that mutual benefit that we believe is certainly going to be worth the investment.
Yeah, so you want to get people back to work. But looking at the figures yesterday from TfL, they were saying they were down 72% yesterday on the same time last year. The Prime Minister wants people to go back to work. People don't want to go back to work.
Well, we are seeing improving trends across the country. Of course, the schools starting to reopen this week, many of them in a phased way. A lot of working parents will have the opportunity much more readily to go back to work if they want. But it's important that employees have that conversation. It's not, appreciate TfL is in the heart of the capital, but there are elements where right across the country we know that people are, including DWP, 799 of our 804 sites are open. We've got more than half of people back in the office, but that's about the maximum amount of capacity we can probably absorb without taking on new buildings. So every employer is going through this challenge.
So do you think half and half is about right for now?
Well, I think if we can try and keep it going, but I'm conscious that we do need to make sure we have COVID-safe environments for people to work, and that will continue because this virus has not gone away. Of course, we're doing a lot more and better treatments for people, understanding that, but we've still got a long distance to go.
What's wrong with people working from home if they are equally as productive? Hasn't this virus shown us a new way of working?
I think it's shown different ways that people can work. I'm not going to particularly try and interfere between an employee and an employer on exactly how they will do their jobs.
What about your department? What do you do with your...
Well, as I say, we've just got about more than half of people back into our offices right across the country because a lot of what we do is frontline face-to-face with different organisations. But, you know, my experience in industry, people can work in different ways. But often you'll find, Kay, I think that when people start to change teams and similar, a lot of the existing relationships have to be recreated.
I was going to say,
and so there'll be interesting challenges for employers to decide.
What are we missing out on by not being at work with our colleagues? Because we can't have that water cooler moment because we have to be social distance like we are.
Well, indeed, and perhaps other aspects of social media have replaced that or other ways that people can do it. But this is obviously a decision for employees and employers, but there is that wider knock-on effect. We know that, for example, in the capital, there are a number of different services which rely on people being here in greater numbers, and that's why we've seen organisations make decisions not to fully reopen, whether that's food outlets or similar. But this is an unravelling situation, and it's we need to want employers to be agile. But that's another reason why we also recognise that they need a boost, and I believe Kickstart will help give them that boost with effectively 6 months of employment, which they can help a young person, but it will also help them as a business. You
want kids back at school as well. Do we know at this stage how many went back yesterday?
I'm not aware that statistics are out yet. I've got the feeling we probably won't know till next week. In terms of, it's quite normal to see phased returns at the beginning of an academic year.
OK. Let me ask you about one of your colleagues, Gavin Williamson, who's the Education Secretary, of course. The Guardian reporting that he was offered evidence that his exam algorithm was flawed 2 weeks before results were published. What do you think? Should he continue in his job?
Absolutely. I mean, Gavin was up before Parliament yesterday giving a statement, so he was scrutinised there. We know that Ofqual are in front of the Select Committee today. And I don't think it's news that Gavin and the Department for Education had looked at the algorithm, and Ofqual had given them reassurances. But, you know, Gavin really is the best person to give an account of what happened. But I'm confident that he has responded, and Parliament's had its chance to scrutinise him yesterday.
Why are you so confident in him, in his job, given that, you know, he said that the algorithm was fine, even though we saw what happened in Scotland and in Wales? He also said that kids didn't need to wear face masks, and now they do. Is it because he's not good enough at his job, or is it because it is a movable feast and we literally don't know which direction this virus is going to take us?
I think on things like face coverings, where the government's introduced guidance is in places where there are localised lockdowns. So it's not surprising that we have tailored advice in different parts of the country, depending on the local health situation. So this really is an agile situation. I am confident, of course, in Gavin. As I say, Parliament's had their chance to fully scrutinise him yesterday, and I'm sure there'll be future opportunities.
It was a big mistake, though, wasn't it? The algorithm thing, it was a big mistake.
I think that all the nations in the UK took this approach on algorithm initially with different regulators, and we've seen what's happened in consequence. But genuinely, it is for Gavin, and I have absolutely full confidence in Gavin taking this forward.
I guess we wouldn't use it again, though.
I think that there are all sorts of ways that algorithms get used in daily life. But, you know, Ofqual's already consulted on proposals for next year. They need to consider them. But the most important thing is making sure schools are fully reopened. And I'm really pleased at how many schools have taken on the opportunity, but with a phased approach, which is the right approach.
You know, we all make mistakes. I know you to be a compassionate woman. I just wanted you to talk to me briefly about Mercy Burguma. And for our viewers, Mercy was a woman who died of starvation in Scotland. Her little baby was found crying next to her. You were asked about it at the time and you didn't want to talk about it. She was an asylum seeker. Having reflected on it, what would you want to say about it?
OK, I haven't actually been asked about this lady before, so I don't know where that's come from. But
you know who I'm talking about.
I think I know the situation, and it's a lady with immigration status that may have changed. This really is a matter for the Home Office to decide what the immigration status is for each individual. I'm conscious that people can also apply for changes to the Home Office if they are struggling with aspects of that, and the Home Office can make that change so they can get access to public funds. I'm afraid I don't know the individual details of this lady.
I understand that, but as I said, I know you as a compassionate woman. This woman starved to death with her baby next to her.
Well, I don't know the exact ins and outs. I know it happened in Glasgow fairly recently. But really, the Home Office is the person who decides on whether or not we can do that.
What sort of society are we when a woman starves to death?
What I'm trying to say, Kay, is that when people are in very difficult situations like that and they're looking for help from the government, there are ways they can access that help. But I don't know the individual case.
But I'm asking you, I'm giving you the opportunity to be compassionate about it. You know
I've just said people can.
You know enough to know that this woman died and her starving baby was found next to her.
And as I've said, Kay, when people are in very difficult situations, there are ways that the government can help, but it may need an application from them to say, I need some help in this way. So I don't know the exact in there, but the government has been helping millions of people across the country. People without recourse to public funds can apply to the government to get a change in their status so they can get support, but that takes them through a Home Office route, and then organisations like DWP can help.
OK, you said, of course, it was in Glasgow, staying in Scotland. Nicola Sturgeon announcing yesterday a draft bill for a new Scottish independence referendum. Do you think that Boris Johnson will allow that to happen?
Well, I think this is the first I've heard of it, and I'm just somewhat surprised. Last week, we saw that Scotland has a record deficit. The union bonus is about £2,000 per person in Scotland. I really struggle to understand why this is the right time to be thinking about independence referendum. With just huge economic recovery ahead of us. And as a consequence, I'm just surprised that this is seen as the top priority right now.
What you will have heard of is the new lineup for Strictly. I bet you're a fan of Strictly, aren't you?
I like a bit of Strictly.
I bet you do. What do you make of Nicola Adams dancing as the first same-sex couple?
Well, I think it's a new venture for the BBC. They're used to breaking new ground on the dance floor. It'll be interesting to see who leads and who doesn't.
Yeah, because you're not in favour of same-sex marriage, are you?
Well, I took the view at the time, and I still hold to that. I have a strong faith background about what is a legal partnership and what is marriage. But that's not a question for today. I'm a great believer in living, let live. But as I say, I'll be interested to see who
Will you
takes the
vote for
lead.
Nicola Adams?
I've got the feeling that Nicola Adams may well take the lead.
Will you vote for her?
I'll see who the contestants are. There are a great number of there. I'm quite a fan of Caroline Quentin as well.
Oh,
so
who isn't? Would you like to take part?
No.
OK, on that note, it's good to see you. You stay there for just a second.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Kate.
you taking the time to join us.